What made you come forward to actually share your experience about being a juror in this high-profile case?
I actually want to give a message to the family, make them understand that, or at least hear us out saying it's not our fault that Karen Reed was innocent. I mean, the Commonwealth and the investigation couldn't actually prove and show evidence enough to make us convict her of anything. So I want to come out to let them know that we feel for them. Like, I personally feel for them a lot. I'm a mother, and it broke my heart to see the family leaving the courthouse on that day. But it wasn't her fault, and I hope they find who did it.
Let's talk about the verdict and how you guys came to this conclusion.
At first, most of us were on the same page pretty much. We were shocked with so many holes the case presented to us. But there was some people who had questions, and we were there those 4 days to answer those questions. Weren't like heated argument, like, oh my God, we disagree and everything. No, but we had some disagreements about this evidence X or Y, and we talked through it. We were very respectful of each other, and we came out to the agreement.
Was there any particular evidence that you guys were really stumped on?
For me, specifically the tail light, we all took a look close to the tail light, and we couldn't make the tail light, the damage on the tail light, the original tail light, compatible with the injuries on his body. Mm-hmm. So having a close look of the tail light helped me a lot, and I'm sure the other jurors too.
And that solidified it?
Yeah.
And you mentioned who might have done this. I know David Yannetti, her attorney, said, there's somebody else out there that is responsible. Do you have any ideas who could be responsible, or do you feel the same way as you sort of suggested you do?
Yeah, I think something happened inside the house and he was placed outside. So whoever was inside the house, we didn't hear from the owner of the house or Brian Higgins, who allegedly had some sort of, involvement with Karen Reed days prior. So, the spotlight for me is on them, but I can't say, just like they can't prove that was Karen Reed, I can't prove it was any of the people in the house.
Can you quickly clarify what happened when you guys came out with a verdict and then said, oh, actually no verdict? There was a little point.
Yeah, we had some questions about the slip and how to...
Oh, the slip.
Yeah, if we did right.
Got it.
And we sent back, and we didn't even send back. Was in a deliberation room with us, but then because the judge knew that we had the verdict, she asked to seal the paper and bring it to her.
Is that the situation where she came back and said there was a verdict, and then less than 30 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked maybe, I think, an hour more, and then we came with the other verdict.
What were you guys split on, and how many of you guys were split on certain parts of this verdict?
I think, we're half and half as when we first got there. Like Friday, last Friday we didn't do anything. We were just like, we all want to talk, put it out, because too many days without talking about it. And Monday we start to look into the evidence, the witnesses, and the videos, and the taillight close. And we're kind of like half and a half, and we had to see which questions, what make you be guilty, what make you feel not guilty for this charge and the other charge. And wasn't that hard, I think. I think we are very respectful. We heard, and everybody left feeling that they did the right thing.
And how has your life changed since you've been part of this experience? I know it's still pretty early after, but has anything changed about your viewpoint toward justice or the justice system?
Yeah.
Since then?
So a lot of people were raising this thing, oh, she's an attorney, she shouldn't be a jury, and this and that. Just clarifying, I am an attorney from Brazil. My license is in Brazil. I never work in the U.S. I can't practice in the U.S. And I didn't lie when they chose me to be a jury. And nothing changed so far. I did like to be part of this because for me, most of the time I'm a mom. I do have a part-time job, but from home because I have to take care of my kids. So being out every day, being there every day, getting this routine of working outside the house, actually I really enjoy it. And being in a courtroom made me feel like the old days when I was young. So the change was just my personal opinion about like what I'm gonna do next. But overall, I'm just waiting for summer to start and take my kids out and get this behind, and just I'm gonna keep following close because I want to see what's gonna happen. I want to see what's the DA gonna do next. I didn't have a chance to check the news and if they said anything.
I am so curious about this. When did you realize the gravity of this case? Obviously, you didn't know anything going into jury duty, but when was that point that you really realized, oh wow, we just made a decision and it was this big? It was the Karen Reed case.
When I heard the people outside last Wednesday, because I didn't know there was that amount of people outside. As we drive every day, we could see some people in pink, and I didn't know pink was her color. I had a bunch of pink shirts, and then I stopped using them because I don't want to give a vibe. But I had no clue. There were, I don't know, hundreds of people outside. It was that of a big movement. And Aiden, Turtle Boy, I never heard about him before that. So I saw that he was very involved in this and I recognized him from court. So I started looking at his work or his advocacy, I don't know. And yeah, I didn't know it was that big. I mean, the judge said when she was picking us for the jury poll, it's a media case, it's a big case, but I had no clue that big, like national big.
Right. So when you were sitting in the courtroom when the verdict came down,
When
what
I heard
was
people.
going through your mind, and what did you hear in there?
I heard just the people outside, and that's when I started crying, because that people outside made the family of John O'Keefe feel very sad just hearing that. So that moment broke my heart. And then, I don't know, I just hope they find justice.
Is there anything that you would say to the O'Keefes if you saw them?
Yes, please keep fighting. We really don't think it was Karen Reed. The investigation was floppy. Believe that. Look at yourself, and keep fighting to find who did this to him, because he seemed to be a very nice guy. His niece testified, friends testify, and we had no doubt that was unnecessary death. But it wasn't Karen Reed, and let's find who did it.
Do you think the investigation was just sloppy, or do you think a potential cover-up with the police because he was a police officer?
I'm not gonna say it's a cover-up, but was a sloppy effort. I would keep just being like sloppy and lazy, I would say too. But if it was a cover-up, let's find out.
Is there something that really stood out when you were listening to some of the testimony? Like, wow, when you say sloppy or lazy, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
No reports. Like nobody made like an official report of like the GPS location of the evidence 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, the ring camera disappeared. Oh yeah, no, this moment, like 2 minutes, we don't have the recording anymore. So all those coincidences doesn't make sense.
And
Did you guys ever talk about the dog or potential dog bites or anything like that?
We mentioned, I mean, you mean deliberation?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we mentioned the dog, but not much. I mean, I think that's looked like a dog bite, but because it wasn't presented to us, like more information about the dog and everything, we put our opinions aside and just, focus on the evidence that was actually there.
did you always believe, or do you believe that Karen Reed is innocent, and did you always believe that from the moment you stepped in to be a juror to the moment that you walked?
No, I didn't know about the case, so when I first started, I thought maybe manslaughter because of the drink thing, that she was under influence overall. And but after the weeks passed by and the witnesses, and I just couldn't make her guilty.
Was there like a turning point, like a aha moment where you're like, okay, maybe she's not?
The Commonwealth witness judge, I forgot his name, Judge Welcher?
Yeah, Derek.
Dr. Welcher.
Dr. Welcher.
Yeah. So Dr. Welcher, car accident reconstruction, seemed a little off, and wow, they couldn't even prove that. So that moment was maybe an aha moment. Mm-hmm. And when ARCA came in and gave us such a good accident reconstruction to us, made sense.
Interesting. Is there anything else?
So before this trial, so last year, You never heard of the Karen Reed trial before?
No, I moved here February last year, so I think you guys were talking a lot about it. I saw billboards, I saw some yard signs, free Karen Reed, but I was never curious to look to see what was it. I love crime, I love true crime, to listen to podcasts, but mainly in Brazil, mainly things that happens over there. So I'm not involved with social media, local news in the US. So I really didn't know much about Karen Reed. I just know her face and her billboard.
Interesting. Yeah. And what did you think about her presence in the courtroom? I know people have looked at her as like kind of cool, calm, collected, or showing little emotion at times. So I don't know what your perception of her is or was or how it evolved.
I did expect more emotion. I was looking like she doesn't cry, she doesn't move. She's just so calm and so present. But she was fighting for her life, and I'm not judging. It's the way that she found herself in that horrible situation, and she needed to fight. And so good for her that she had the presence to do that.
Do you want to just tell us about the verdict and how you guys came to this conclusion?
Yeah, sure. So it was a very intense week. We are at first for me, I thought Karen Reed was actually maybe guilty of manslaughter in the beginning, but as the weeks passed by, I just realized there was too many holes that we couldn't fill, and there's nothing that put her on the scene, in our opinion, besides just drop John O'Keefe off. And the tail light, the injuries in his arm didn't make much sense that come from the tail light for us. The last witness, Arca, from the defense, that made clear. They did a very good job, like showing us, explaining all the technicalities, of everything. And yeah, we couldn't prove there was a collision and she was responsible for John's death.
Are you convinced she wasn't responsible for his death?
I am convinced. I'm 100% convinced. Yes. I really don't think she was responsible for his death. I think she dropped him off. If she back up fast enough to maybe touch him, maybe, but that was not the reason why he fell his back in a way that the way the cut was, the injury was, and the fracture was. I don't think that was from the car, because otherwise we would see much more injuries over his body.
So what do you think happened to him?
It's a theory, like conspiracy theory type of thing, because I think she maybe back up and touch him somehow. Maybe he lost his shoes in this movement and got upset, and then she left and she didn't saw him. And so either he got out of her way or something, and maybe he lost his shoes in this process. But in my opinion, he definitely went inside, and something happened inside the house.
Paula, you were getting emotional. What was going through your heart and mind after making that, tremendous decision?
Yeah, so I was happy for Karen Reed and her family. Of course, I think justice was served, but see John O'Keefe's family leaving the courthouse melted my heart. I'm a mother, and I saw her pain through all those days. And I just want to tell them it's not our fault that Karen Reed is not convicted, even if there's any chance she's guilty of something, of hurt him somehow. The Commonwealth and the investigators didn't do their jobs to prove that to us. So we couldn't charge her with anything. And I really, really hope there is a way for the case to be reopened, and they can investigate again and find who actually did that to John.
But you were emotional at the end.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
It was because I was sad for the family, because I feel like great for Karen Reed, but horrible for the family. He seemed to be a very nice guy, the story with his nephews and niece, and was alive. So I feel bad for them, and I really want them to get justice for John O'Keefe for real.
Was it a poor investigation?
In my opinion, yes. Too many flaws, too many holes that we couldn't fill in. No reports, so many things, videos with glitch. I don't know, felt a little not correct, not precise. I mean, they are police officers, they know what to do in investigation, and with too many pieces were missing.
Paula, you said you were first thinking manslaughter in the beginning. What changed your mind to not guilty?
The process, as they show us that things don't connect to each other, the injuries don't connect with the taillight, the glitch on the video of the sailport, the missing part of the video of the ring light in John O'Keefe's house was too many coincidences to be, straight her fault.
So the first trial, the jurors were deadlocked. They couldn't come up with a decision. Were you surprised that they brought this case again for a second time? That they prosecuted her for a second time?
No, not surprised, because I have a law background from Brazil. I studied law. I worked a little bit as an attorney before I moved here, so I understand a little bit the system. I'm not surprised she was charged again. And we definitely didn't want to hang this jury. We were very positive that we're going to discuss everything as much as we can, because we don't want to. The amount of money spent on this trial made me very upset, and I'm sure made my fellow jurors upset too.
Do you think she was framed?
Hard to say. I didn't have a chance to look into the investigation outside the courtroom and everything that was said in the last trial. It's less than 24 hours since I started looking into those things. So I can't say she was framed, but maybe, I don't know. I don't know.
Did you find it strange you didn't hear from the lead investigator, Michael Proctor?
No, I didn't find it strange not hear from him, but I found strange not hear from Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, because the owner for the house and the person who exchanged text messages with Karen Reid a few days before John O'Keefe's death. So I think was weird not hear from them.
Do you find it weird that the DA hasn't said anything at all about the case or the verdict? I mean, all he said was the jury has spoken, which you guys did, but nothing else.
I was surprised that they wanted the sentencing right away. I'm not sure if they're going to appeal, what's going to happen. I didn't have time to see what happened today through the day because I was out with my family. But I don't know, maybe they're just going to give up and reopen the investigation.
At the beginning of deliberations, did some people think she was guilty?
At the beginning of the deliberation, I don't know. We decided not to vote, not to say what we really think, and instead go through witnesses and the videos and the paper, the clothes and everything. So I'm not sure what they thought. But when we got an agreement of what charges we would eliminate it one by one, and then we got to the verdict.
Was it hard to focus, or, with the pressure of the big crowds outside every day chanting? Like, how much pressure was that for you guys?
I didn't see people outside until, I think Monday, because the way the bus brings us to the back of the courthouse, only if you look to your right and you see maybe some pink shirts or something, but I didn't know it was that big crowd like yesterday. And we couldn't hear anything. They covered the room so we couldn't see through the window. And through the whole process, I didn't hear anything inside the courtroom. None of us did.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like this wasn't that difficult for you guys to reach consensus here. Was it difficult to reach this decision or not really?
Well, I can speak for myself. For me, it wasn't. For me, I had my opinion formed before we get in there. So some people might thought differently, so we had some discussions, of course, but I can't talk for other people.
But it doesn't sound like it was very heated, and were people fighting, or was it?
No, there wasn't fight. We are a respectful group of people. We got along very well, and we listened to each other's opinion. I can't say much what happened inside the deliberation room. The judge told us not to talk about it, but of course, there were discussions of our opinions and the proofs, and let's look into this, look into that, until we got to a consensus. But nothing heated, no.
Did you make much of her the videos that were played of her saying, well, maybe I might have clipped him, her almost admitting that, well, maybe something happened?
Yeah, that's where I take my theory from. Since she woke up thinking, oh, maybe I hit him. So this idea come from somewhere in her mind, right? So maybe when she back up, she hit something, the curb or him or something. I don't know. But definitely his injuries are not consistent with the tail light damage. We do not believe the tail light, the way that was presented in the Sally Port on that day, it's not the same way that we saw in the videos of the car coming out of the Meadows in the morning. I don't think the car killed John O'Keefe, no.
At what point in the trial did you start to think she was innocent?
Maybe 3 weeks ago, after, You know, when they had the police lab bringing DNA, they found a little trace of DNA here and there, but they also found 2 males' DNA here and there. So well, maybe there was more people involved on that. So that's when I started shifting my mind to completely not guilty of killing him at all. And the OUI was the only thing we can deny, because she said on the video she was drinking, and there are videos of her drinking, counting of her drinking. So we couldn't let that pass.
Anything else, Paula? Like, what's your message, or what's the lesson that you learned in this process? Or
well, my first time being a juror was an incredible experience. Really, I really enjoyed being there. It wasn't a burden at all. The deliberation part for me was a little overwhelmed because of the pressure of have someone's life in your hand. But the crowd outside or influence from outside, none of this came to me. So I was clear, my mind just focused on her and the case and the evidences we have. But for me, it was a great experience, and I'm happy that I feel good about what we did. I'm confident that she's innocent. And I really, really hope the pressure that they had in this case now is transferred to John O'Keefe family, and justice for him, like new investigation, whatever needs to be done.
And joining us now is Paula Prado, one of the jurors who helped decide Karen Reed's fate. Ms. Prado, good morning to you. As I understand it, you're also a lawyer by training in Brazil. So there's a distinction here. Sometimes jurors say, okay, we think she is innocent. And sometimes they say, we think she's not guilty. The prosecutors just didn't prove the case. For you, which one was it? Do you believe that Karen Reed was innocent?
Yes, I do believe she was innocent. I believe if it was a collision, this collision was very little and wasn't enough to cause the death of John O'Keefe. So for me, it was for the past 3 weeks, I was very confident to say that she was not guilty and she's not responsible.
So Paul, if you believe that, if you believe she was in fact innocent, what do you think happened to John O'Keefe that night?
That's a trick question because I can't prove anything. But I do believe he died inside the house. Something may happen in front of the house when she dropped him off, because she woke up saying, maybe I hit him, look at my taillight. She made this connection of the taillight being cracked with he not being home. So maybe she did hit something when she dropped him off, and as she drove off like mad, going home upset because he didn't came back from the house. I think John O'Keefe went inside the house and something happening there.
What do you think of the defendant herself? You were able to watch her live in the courtroom day after day, but she did not take this stand. Do you wish she had? And what was your impression of her?
Yeah, at first my impression was she gave me a vibe of being too confident, and that wasn't good for me personally. I expected to see someone more, I don't know, sad or quiet, and she all the time showed herself with she was very calm, she was very participative of her defense, and confident, like her looks to the witnesses and to the prosecutor and everybody around. She was very focused on the trial and very alert of everything that was going on. And after a while, I admire that. I think she was doing what she had to do for herself. She was, fighting for her life, pretty much.
Paula, there was so much evidence presented over the few weeks that this trial went on. Was there a single piece of evidence that you found as a juror and as an attorney, a single piece of evidence that was the most compelling, that really convinced you she did not do it?
The taillight. So having a close look at the taillight in the deliberation room, they gave us the piece that was originally broken. That taillight, compared with the videos of Karen Reed leaving the house in the morning at 7:07, I think, when she first got out of the house to go look for him, I saw it, and most of us, I think, saw it like her taillight was red, mostly red, so wasn't compatible with the taillight fully broken that we had in front of us. So that's over there was the reasonable doubt we were looking for.
What about the fact that this trial is so high profile? I mean, there were crowds outside the courthouse every day. In fact, when the verdict was read, you could hear from inside the courtroom, as I'm sure you did, the cheers go up. Were you aware of that? Did that weigh into any of your decision making? How did that play into the dynamic there?
The first time we heard something outside was on the day of the verdict, when we heard them chanting when we said not guilty. Before that, as we drive to the courthouse, the bus would drop us off behind the courthouse and the streets were closed. So honestly, we couldn't see anything or hear anything. And in the courthouse, inside the deliberation room, they covered everything, the windows, so we didn't have a view from outside. Honestly, we knew there were some people there because as we drive around, we see some people in pink, and we imagined that there was some movement inside the courthouse. Oh, sorry, outside the courthouse, but we couldn't hear anything. And I had no clue the amount of people that were outside until I come out and watch on the TV last Friday.
Paula, you were visibly.
Last Friday, no, sorry, last Wednesday.
We knew what you meant, but Paula, you were visibly emotional as you left the courtroom. You were in tears. Well, why? Why were you so emotional as you left?
Because I'm a mother, and I've been watching his family over this past 2 months, and I can't imagine what they are going through. And as much as I'm confident that we did the right thing and she's not guilty, I feel sorry that justice wasn't served to John O'Keefe and John O'Keefe's family. And it's the reason why I'm coming out and talking to people is to keep the flame going and the supporters going after the DA or whatever they have to do to reopen the case and find who really killed John O'Keefe.
Do you have a theory about that?
I believe, as I said, that he died inside and something happened inside that maybe he could even accidentally fall and hit his head back. Maybe a little fight went inside because we saw videos on last bar they were where him and Brian Higgins were making gestures that they would talk after. So I can't say for real, but yeah. I believe something happened inside the house.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
okay.
Very interesting. Paula, to have your perspective, thank you. And jury service is not easy, so I'm sure the judge thanked you, but it is appreciated. Thank you.
Her perspective especially unique, considering, as you pointed out, her background. I mean, a lawyer herself in Brazil. So
very, very interesting. And a lot of people have said, however you come down on this trial, right, perhaps the investigation should have been more complete, and perhaps it will continue. We shall see.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
Tonight, we're hearing from a juror on the Karen Read trial, which gained national attention. You'll remember earlier this week, she was found not guilty of killing her police officer boyfriend.
And test. Defendant not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you all?
You can hear those cheers which erupted outside as Read left. Supporters had stood outside the courtroom every day of the trial. Joining us now is juror number 11, Paula Prado. Paula, how did your opinion of Karen Read change throughout the trial?
At first, I thought her demeanor in court was a little bit too calm and composed for someone who was being charged for murder, especially for a loved one. But I learned how to admire actually that behavior. She was very participative on her own defense and helping each other and calm. I think her confidence was because she knew she wasn't guilty, and that helps me to change this prejudgment I have of her.
So you changed from thinking she was guilty to thinking not guilty?
Not just because of her behavior, of course, because of the whole trial itself and the evidence presented to us. Had too many holes, and we couldn't connect taillights to John O'Keefe injuries. We felt there was something else that could have pushed him to hit his head so hard that he had a skull fracture. And we definitely believe that if he was hit by a car at 24 miles per hour, we would find more injuries on his body.
Now, Paula, I know you work as an attorney in Brazil as well, and you've presented cases. Which side really solidified your position, the defense or the prosecution?
I honestly, I pay more attention in the prosecution witnesses and the case they presented because I needed to see what they have to prove me that she was guilty. And of course, when the defense started bringing their witnesses, I already kind of had my mindset that Karen Reed wasn't guilty. So the defense witnesses just came in to top it off and make me more sure and certain that she wasn't responsible for John's death.
And what were the pieces of evidence presented from either side, really, that pushed you to find her not guilty, or at least raise enough reasonable doubt?
Definitely the tail light. We had the opportunity to check the tail light from inside the deliberation room. So we had the broken tail light, the original one. We also had a new one to compare, and we had videos of Karen Reed getting out of the house in that morning at 5:07, 5 a.m. And we saw her car lighting. The red was way too strong and way more spread out, as if her tail light wasn't broke that much. The pieces that were missing were too much for us to be able to see the red light.
Take us inside the jury room. Was there a lot of back and forth with the verdict with other jurors, or was it everyone on the same page?
No, we definitely, at first we started deliberating on Friday, so everything was new. Everybody wanted to just talk one over another. But on Monday, we start being more organized, and there were different opinions. But we are very respectful. We listen to everybody. I think everybody left the deliberation room confident and certain of our decision. We listened to everyone. We answered all the questions we had. We compare our notes to see if we got anything wrong or right, who has this information, who haven't. And I think we did a great job. We were respectful. We tried very hard to listen to everyone.
Now, the defense's allegations of a cover-up, I wonder if you think the jurors felt that could be true, or if that held a lot of water for you.
It could be true. It could also not be true. The same way I can't charge Karen Reed with murder, I can't say there was a cover-up because I didn't see evidence for it. I saw holes and I saw a flop investigation, and I think the prosecution they worked what they had. The investigation was poorly from the beginning. No reports, no time, no videos that were missing. They could be covering for someone, of course, but also could be something else.
And what was your reaction when the verdict was read and you saw the reactions inside and outside the courtroom?
My reaction was cry. I was the juror who left court crying because I felt sad for John O'Keefe's family as they were leaving before everybody else, and of course frustrated and upset. I'm happy for Karen Reed and her family so they can move on, but definitely John O'Keefe's family didn't get the justice they deserve.
A lot of emotions inside and outside the courtroom. Paula, Prado, thank you so much for your time.
So tell me about your feeling when you found out that you were going to be on the jury, when you went to your voir dire in jury selection and they picked you to be on this jury. How did you feel?
When I was in the room, when I received the letter, I actually liked the idea because I'd never been a juror before. I wanted to know how the process is. For me, it was like a 1-2 day thing. It's going to be fun to do it. When the judge said, oh, it might take 8 weeks, I was like, wow, I hope I'm not selected. And once I was selected, I had to run. All I could think was the logistics of everything. So I just want to run home and make phone calls to arrange everything. But I was excited. I was happy to be part of the process. I had no clue it was that big. It was a mediatic case. I had no clue to get a lot of attention. But I did like the idea of being part of something that big and important.
Can you tell me what you knew about the case? Of course, the understanding is that you don't have to be ignorant of the case. You just have to not have an opinion formed, right? And be open-minded and evaluate the evidence in the courtroom. So what did you know about the Karen Reed case before you started hearing evidence?
I know she had a billboard on Route 1. Every time I go grocery shop, I see Free Karen Reed. That's all I knew about her and her name. I also saw some lounge that has signs Free Karen Reed. but didn't strike me to go search and understand what it was. So I had no clue what crime or what she did, who she was, who John was, nothing. I really didn't know. And I never heard about those supporters, the big crowd she has. I learned that the pink was her color like mid-trial, so I stopped wearing pink because I had a lot of pink shirts and I didn't want to give it the wrong vibe. I didn't really know. I don't watch local news, I don't watch television. I had a pause on social media, and whatever I have on social media, my X account is my last post is 2022. My Instagram post is last one was last year. So I just didn't have access to what was going on here. I'm more interested in international news, Brazilian news, and that was it.
Can we talk about your background a little bit? Because you came, I called you the expressive juror, because the jurors I thought generally were very stoic, took a lot of notes, a lot of heads down, you took a lot of notes. But as the trial went on, your expressions became a little bit more obvious. I know that you were controlling them because I could see you. I also couldn't read what you were reacting to. Like if it was, sometimes you'd have the same look going back and forth between the lawyer and the witness. Can you talk about your background a little bit?
Yes, I have a law degree from Brazil. I'm licensed to work in Brazil. I graduated in 2010, and then right after, a year and a half after, I moved to the States to study, to learn English. I didn't know any English before I got here, and I never worked again as a lawyer. I just help some colleagues I have in Brazil with some cases. Sometimes I can do a petition from here. I still know how to write and think like a lawyer. And I also have an MBA in marketing, because my life is here now and I want to do something professionally after my kids grow a little bit. So I combine marketing with my law degree, and I work with Brazilian law offices to do the digital marketing, the social media, and those things. Another reason why I was involved with the social media, but all in Brazil. Everything I saw was all in Brazil, was never here.
When you reached out to me, you indicated that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, and I don't remember exactly, but it was surprising to you what people were thinking about the case after you were able to plug back in to the world about the case. What are some of the misconceptions you think people out there have that you've seen, and is there anything that they're getting right?
Some people got things right. I reached out to you because I thought you had a good impression of us. I choose the journalists I want to talk to. More people came on the way, but I didn't have a chance to look to all the media and all the news about us. I just look on X, and I start, as soon as we get back in the room after we give the verdict, I just open my X account, old, and I start to following everybody. I didn't know your name, I didn't know anybody's name, so we start to, like, guessing who is this, who is that. And there was some misconception, misunderstanding. The jury sent a note to the judge asking her to stop objecting Brennan, or John O'Keefe's brother had to change seats because a jury complained, or the jury, let me remember one more. The jury were uncomfortable with Paul O'Keefe. The jury sent a note to the judge. Oh, the last one, the jury already know everything. They just are hanging on the second-degree murder. That's never happened inside the deliberation, but some reporter said that. Like, how do you know? You don't know. Oh, the jury is my cousin. He said X, Y, and Z. No, your cousin wasn't there. So I read a lot of this.
And you felt like you wanted to just get the record straight, that your experience as the juror did not match what was happening on social media.
No, we never sent a note to the judge before the deliberation. We never complain. We are a very happy group of people, you know, fulfilling our duty, and that's it.
So I know that I kept posting that it's very different watching the trial and then being in the courtroom. Very different experience. So people would react to the judge's heavy size or a witness's heavy size, which I know you didn't hear because I didn't hear, and there's no amplification in the courtroom. But one thing people, and I think that I went ahead and projected onto you, plural, ustedes, that there was some growing frustration with the number of sidebars toward the end of the trial. Because at one point I thought the judge said, "This will be quick," and you all laughed, like, "Yeah, tell us about it." Will you just patient with it, knew that this is the cost of being on a trial, or did it start to wear you down a little bit?
No, we didn't care about the sidebar at all. And we even said that to the judge when she came to talk to us after. The sidebar for us was a moment to stretch, to close our eyes, to clear our head. We didn't mind the sidebar. We laughed because it was probably not true that would be quickly. And all the time she apologized and everything, and we think it's funny to apologize. We know it's part of the process. We expect that to happen. I feel like sometimes judge or lawyers, they would talk to us like if we have no clue what a court process is, what the system is, what the legal system is. And we do, not just me, everybody does. We understand it's part of it. So we like the sidebars. And I can speak for all of us. We like it.
Like this, more sidebars.
Yes, because we can stretch, we stop. We didn't like when she says, oh, we're going to get here at 8:30 and then we're going to get inside at 9:30. Didn't make sense. Or they get late, too long of a lunch break because they need to do the sidebars. So I guess the sidebars without us, we didn't like much because we want to get going. But the sidebars with us inside the court, we're okay with it.
What about, this is just a personal question for how people relate it. I know that I can't sit for 10 minutes without my phone, right? I can't pick up, if I'm sitting waiting for something, I want to get my phone, I just want to look at it, I want to scroll through stuff, even if it's unimportant. And I kept looking at all of you having to sit there, and some of the sidebars, which would go for a long time.
We could check.
And your generation, I mean, I'm 63, right? So I actually remember having to sit doing nothing. Was there this anxiety that and I know I don't want you to speak for other people, but I'm sure you chit-chatted about it. Was there an anxiety of nervousness of not having a device? Or did you look at it as a Zen moment that maybe I'll reclaim my...
I think the first few weeks, for me at least, was hard. Especially because I want to check what was going on home with my kids. So it was hard to not have the phone. But we got used to after 2-3 weeks, I guess. I did, at least. I was okay with it. Being sitting down, listening that much information, that was hard because most of us were out of college or haven't been in school for such a long time, and it felt like we were back in school and need to take notes and pay attention. So it took me a while to get used to, again, to have that much information and learn and understand everything. But other than that, we learned it, we got used to.
All right, so I'll preface this with you were all very professional, very studious, took a lot of notes. What was the giggling about? You had 2 giggling episodes. And I know that you tried. I saw all 3 of you trying to bring it back together. And I have to admit, I had a giggling episode with a court officer during some testimony, so it happened.
I remember one of them was because I think Alan Jackson asked Yuri Buchanan, the judge asked, you expect me to read all this? And then Alan Jackson said, yes, I did. So we laugh about it because it was a thick document. And another, I don't remember another one, but that one, the 3 of us laughed, and I think the judge called us to ask individual questions on the following day or 2 days after, and we thought it was because of that, because the 3 of us just start laughing. Me and Juror 4, that's also speaking.
And Jason.
Jason, yes. Yes. And the other lady between us. So it was because of that, like sometimes, and we try not, some witnesses show or said something that was so absurd, or some interactions between lawyers and the witness was a bit rude. So we have to keep together, be quiet, but something were entertaining.
Tell me, it's a workplace basically too, so things happen that you end up having a private joke about something and then it just gets out of hand sometimes. Talk to me about the reaction when the verdict was read and the crowd outside screamed and cheered, because after the first verdict that was not guilty, it was hard to hear in there, and outside just erupted. Were you shocked about that? Tell me what it felt like as you heard you heard your verdict being read, and then you heard the crowd outside.
To be honest with you, I don't remember what happened in that courtroom that day, that moment, because once I heard the people outside, I just closed my eyes and I started crying, and I left the courtroom without looking to anyone. I did not expect to hear it, because through the whole trial we didn't hear anything on a jury room We did not saw many people outside because we come from the back of the courthouse. So we would see someone walk with a pink shirt here and there, but that was it. Never hear chanting or comments or laughing or yellings or booing, nothing. And it's particular to me when I heard that people screaming out of happiness. At the same time, I was seeing John O'Keefe's family crying out of sadness, and that broke my heart. So that moment, I kind of understood how big this case was and how we're making someone happy and we're making a lot of other people sad too. So I don't remember what happened in courtroom that moment. I just closed my eyes and cried.
When you reached out to me, you noted that you felt that justice had been served for Karen Reed, but hadn't been served for John O'Keefe and his family. Can you talk about what that means?
Well, through the whole trial, I observed a lot of his family, his mom, and his moments to cry. Other family members or friends cried too, and it's emotional. It's a life. It's a person who lost his life unnecessarily. None of us know what happened to him. What we know is that wasn't Karen Reed responsible for his death. She did not kill him. And if she did, the police and the Commonwealth didn't prove that to us. So still, I feel super happy that she got justice and she's gonna live her life, and I hope she have a great life ahead of her. And I feel extremely upset and frustrated that John O'Keefe's family, his mom, his father, who were there, his brother, they gonna still hanging on the question who killed John O'Keefe and what's gonna happen for now. I don't know. I know there is a civil case that can come up now. I don't know if the I don't know if the DA said anything, or Mr. Breno. I didn't hear from anybody. But I really hope this case can be reopened and they can investigate it and find who killed John O'Keefe.
Who do you hold responsible?
I can't hold anybody responsible because of the same way I did not convict Karen Reed because I didn't have proof of her being participating of his death. I cannot say another people did. But I do have my suspicions, and I already spoke about this, that something happened inside the house and that I find very fishy that Brian Higgins and Brian Alberts and the rest of the family were investigated. I'm not even talking about the guests of the party that night. They were guests. But there was a moment in the court that a picture of the front of the house was shown to us, and they had to take us out of the courtroom to cover the garage door. And I wonder, why can't we see the garage door? Why Dr. La Posada couldn't speak about what she saw in pictures? This was objected, so it wasn't on the record, I think. But she said something about, I saw real estate pictures. She said in court, and then objected, and we needed to not consider that question. But once the word is out, I wonder what was inside the house that we couldn't hear about it, or why we couldn't see the picture of the garage.
It's such a challenge to be told that it's objected and sustained and don't think about it, or it's, we're going to strike it from the record, forget that we just said that. It does seem like an absurd way to, and that's for every trial. It seems like an absurd way to run a trial.
Yeah, we did not consider that information when we're deliberating, of course, but still in my head now, and I want to know what happened at the garage, what happened at the house, why that people never came out, what Brian Higgins was doing at 2 a.m., 1 a.m. at the police station.
Let's talk about the cases a little bit. When the prosecution rested, what was the narrative? What was the point that you believe the Commonwealth was trying to convince you of? If I had to tell you ask you what the prosecution's argument was to you, what would you say it was?
Well, they want to convince us that she backed up her car fast enough to clip him, taillight cut his arm, and throw him away. He hits his floor on a frozen lawn and died. That's it. And she saw everything and left the scene.
Were there any witnesses for the prosecution that you felt did a good job moving that narrative forward and proving that?
No, because just the eyewitness could say all that, and that case was Jim McCabe was the only one we heard, and we couldn't believe everything she was saying. Her story was very credible, was very well said. I think that's the expression, but didn't make much sense. It's like if she was coached. I think some other jurors felt the same way.
What about any of the expert witnesses for the Commonwealth? Were there any that you think did a good job, and who do you think just did a bad job?
Bad job, clearly. They're calling him Blue Man, Welcher, yeah, Dr. Welcher. I mean, without my respect to his work and his job, I don't think he was trying to hide something or convince us of something. I just think he didn't do a good job. That's it. Maybe his businesses needed to step it up in the game and learn a little more techniques, to spend some more money on things that actually matter than buy a new Lexus. So yeah, it was, to me, felt like a joke, that video that they presented to us to prove that John O'Keefe was hit by a car. I mean, okay, I can put my arm in here and just wait for a 2-mile car to come. Anyone can do this, and you pay almost $400,000 for that person. So that felt, to me, I felt very uncomfortable. So yeah, his colleague, Mr. Shannon, I really don't care about his degree. Everybody's talking about how many years to complete a degree or whatever. He has experience. He's been working with this company for 8 years, according to his profile. He made some mistakes, okay. But, you know, adding Mr. Welcher and him together, and the amount of money who was paid for them to do a great job, I don't think they did. And the credible witnesses, the lab, the forensic expertise, the scientists, the DNA people, the people who check his shirt or piece of DNA on the taillight or not, all this, the people from the state, from the Massachusetts State Police Lab, all of them, I think they work with what was given to them. And they did a good job. I didn't feel they were lying or trying to make up information for us.
And so what about the defense? Who do you think did a good job on the defense side and for making the case, and who do you think didn't help or made it worse?
I don't think anybody on the defense side made it worse. They just corroborate for the things that we have listened prior. Dr. La Posada, for me, was very good, and the ARCA witness. I now know that they didn't want us to hear the ARCA professionals. They made it just clear and easy for a regular person like me to understand what really happened with data, with the videos, with the dummy, what the weight of the dummy. That discussion was so unnecessary. Also, Officer Dever, which we can't say her name wrong, she gets really upset. Officer Dever was scary, to say the least, because I mean, I can see she might be a little immature. She's young. She looks young and new in the police force. But she sold a vibe of being so desperate and angry to everyone, like a child complaining and fighting with their mom. I mean, I just feel like unsafe to have a person with that level of immaturity carrying a gun among us.
What was your reaction or impression? There were, as you said, there were some state police lab people, there were some state troopers that gave very good testimony, but, you know, Yuri Buchanan, who seemed to me as one person when the Commonwealth was interviewing him and questioning him, and then someone else when the defense was. What was your reaction to Trooper Buchanan's testimony?
With him, I was very close to him, like 2 seats away from him, and sometimes I could see him like making a fist, and he was really uncomfortable with some questions, and the sarcastic comments between him and Alan Jackson, entertaining. Felt to me that he was very protective of his job and his colleagues. So this blue wall that I'm learning now what that means. He's probably like a good representative of the blue wall, I think.
And former State Trooper Michael Proctor, who was all over the trial but never appeared, did you have some sort of image or story about him in your head?
So who is Michael Proctor? Like, I didn't know. I still don't know. I know he gave an interview last night. I'm dying to watch. I don't know. I can't put a name and a face together. All the times in my notebooks I have Michael Proctor, question mark. Where is Michael Proctor? I don't know who he was. I learned he was fired during the trial. Some of the witness or lawyers comment. I said, okay, so maybe he's not going to show up because he was fired, and everything he did was bring other troops are bringing up to us. But we didn't know who he was. like as a person.
How did that impact your deliberations for you personally?
I didn't mind not seeing him because he was already fired, and everybody else did a good job of bringing his role in investigation to us. I did mind not hear from Brian Higgins and Brian Halbert. I think they should be there.
Did you, when the defense called Proctor's friend to read the texts, the offensive texts, in the last trial, Trooper Proctor testified and he had to read them. And at one point saying the C word, the judge told him, those are your words, you have to say them. And the jury was shocked by it. And observers now say it didn't seem that it had the same impact. How was your reaction to hearing the text messages that former Trooper Proctor sent to his friends?
There was some wording that made me feel disgusted and upset. It's not that it didn't have the same reaction if it was him reading. It's like just like Karen Reed and Brian Higgins text message. If it was him reading or her, it's not about who is reading. It's about the content. Okay, at that point when that friend came and read all the text messages, we already knew that Michael Proctor was a police officer who was fired, who was being accused of corruption or framed Karen Reed, whatever. So we already expect that something bad would come from this guy. So that's why I think you didn't see a shocking face, a shocking expression on our faces. But was disgusting, was unprofessional, and just make me think what else, what other cases could be judged like this based on a person appearance or relationship or demeanor, I don't know.
Now this is a little bit of a biased question because you have law training, but looking at the lawyers, who do you think did the best job, even if they didn't win the case, even if they, who would you look forward to getting up to be to ask the questions or do the direct or the cross? Was there one lawyer that you'd be like, oh, this will be interesting? Or I like watching?
I like watching all of them. I like Brennan, at the beginning.
Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan?
Hank Brennan, yes. I think he have a bad case. He had an investigation full of holes and he have to convict her with what he have. I didn't like the way he acted at the end. I felt like he was a little desperate or angry, showing some signs of disrespect. But his name's
How about Robert Alessi?
Robert Alessi, yes. This is my favorite lawyer because I think the way he talks, like such a gentleman, so kind, at the same time he's crashing a witness with information, so it was very interesting to watch.
We had a theory for folks who we thought on the jury who looked like they liked watching Robert Alessi. People watching at home would say, oh my God, this is boring, this is terrible. And I actually commented that I thought after you saw Bob Alessi a couple of times, you knew if you just stayed with him, there would be a payoff, right? So like the weather, the weather, what are we getting to? And finally there was a payoff, right?
Definitely repetitive, trying to get there, but he was trying to get the right information to us in a way we could understand, and we all appreciate that. So made the technical information easy, the technical witnesses smoother for us to listen to.
And did you know that Alan Jackson was the LA lawyer? Did you have any feelings about watching him? And
Wednesday night after I got home, my uncle, who is an attorney, and we used to live in California, he said that he's a Hollywood lawyer. I said, great, let me look up, and that was it. Because as soon as I finish everything, I just want to follow everybody and start following everyone that was in the trial. But I didn't know, never heard his name before, but I heard he's one of the best lawyers in the country, so what a pleasure to watch him working.
And David Yannetti?
Didn't know before. He didn't take the podium that much, but when he did, he got our attention. He very articulated, and overall, to me, was very interesting having the opportunity to watch these people working and make justice.
What do you hope the message from this trial is? Is there something you hope will change? Is there something you hope people who have plugged in, you know, this is entertainment to some people, understandably, but someone died, someone was on trial for murder, families were broken, communities are broken. As you said, there's no justice for John O'Keefe yet. What's something you hope either changes and or people take away from this experience?
I think if the community in general were able to get together and gather information and support and financial help for Karen Reed in this case, if they were able to do this for her, I think we now have to do the same thing for John O'Keefe and John O'Keefe's family. Corruption, it's not Michael Proctor is a cancer, corruption is a cancer. And I'm from a Latin country. We know Brazil, we had many cases with corruption. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, is one of the most dangerous places in Brazil. And it speaks to me, this case, because it's injustice, it's police, corruption, and how many people are in jail right now because of a bad investigation, because of a bias of a police officer or investigator, because of a bad system, because of lack of money to have good lawyers like Alan Jackson's Bob Alessi, and David Yannetti. So, and Dr. Leroy, I don't want to forget her. She was very spot on. She didn't take the stand, but she was always there with the documents. Like, we found her work incredible. So the message is, let's continue fight for justice for John O'Keefe. We cannot let corruption run the country in any level, police level, government level. We have the power. We are the people, we have the power, and we have to use this power. We need to get away of fake news, get away of no-sense social media, look for the root of the problem, look for real journalists, real news, real information, and fight, and continue fighting, continue complaining, and protest, and do what needs to be done for a better society. I have young children, so I wanted them to grow up in a better place, in a safer place.
Do you have a message for the news media?
Please, don't lie, don't create stories. And make people confused and make one side against another angry and create unnecessary fights, unnecessary discussion. Why are we discussing? We are online arguing, wasting our times about the seat of Paul O'Keefe. You know, why is that relevant? A person died, and another one's about to go to jail for no reason. Be more responsible, and it doesn't worth it for you guys to get a word and the news out there and the likes for it if it's not true.
And what about social media users? Do you have a word for them?
Look for good journalists. Go to court, go see yourself, you know, watch the TV court 7 hours trial and make your own conclusions. Don't just listen from other people.
Do you have anything else that I missed? Anything you want to say that I didn't cover?
No, it's all good. I just want to, again, I come out to talk about this because I just wanted the O'Keefe family know that it's not our fault. We don't want John O'Keefe to we don't want his case to die. None of us, I can speak for all the jurors, we all felt really bad for the family. We all believe John was a great man, and we all want the justice to be served to him too and his family. And the right person goes pay for this, because a person died, and whoever did or whatever happened need to come out.
Well, thank you for reaching out to me. I'm really thrilled to meet you after watching you for 40 days, too.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Like I said, I choose the people I want to talk to. You were one of them because I saw your reports. I couldn't see everything, but from what I saw, you have like a true impression of us. You were more spot on. You really saw us you really report what was happening there. It wasn't just like creating stories for likes. So that's why I reached out.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Paula. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
The ages, never seen anything like it. Okay, it is time. I am joined by Paula Prado, one of the 12 jurors in the Karen Reed retrial of this century. Paula, thank you so much for joining us tonight. First of all, are you feeling okay? This has been a lot. This has been a long process. You feeling okay tonight?
Yeah, it's just a bit tired with everything that has been going on, especially today, but I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so we appreciate that. Let me ask you, first of all, not guilty or factually innocent? In your mind tonight, not guilty meaning prosecutors didn't prove it, that's the standard in our courtrooms, we understand. Do you believe that she was just not proven guilty, or do you believe she was factually innocent, meaning you are convinced she had nothing to do with the death of John O'Keefe?
Not guilty and innocent. In my personal opinion, she is innocent. I can't see his death being caused by a collision. I'm not sure if a collision happened. I've mentioned before that maybe she touched him, maybe she backed up a little fast and hit a curb or got too close to him and he had to step away or something. But I don't think her car pushed John O'Keefe to death, that pushed him away and made him hit his head on the floor and kill him. So not guilty and innocent.
And you just mentioned one potential theory there. Is that what you think may have happened here to John O'Keefe? What are your thoughts about how John O'Keefe could have ended up dead on the yard of 34 Fairview?
Yeah, again, it's a theory. The same way I couldn't prove that Karen Reed was guilty, I can't prove what happened inside that house, what happened that night. But I do believe that because of the amount of alcohol both of them had, John O'Keefe had more to drink than Karen. Maybe when he left the car, she could back up too fast and touch him, and that could be an explanation for him to lose his shoes or for his phone to fall down and get in pocket state, which was something that the data showed us. But in my opinion, he got up and he went inside the house with or without shoes. I don't know when he lost his shoes eventually, but I don't think he died outside. I think something happened inside the house and he was placed outside.
And do you have because it's not clear, and the defense was talking about the garage. In the first trial, they talked about the basement. Do you have any idea where in the house he may have gone, and why do you think that?
Assuming that a lot of the witnesses that was in the house that night didn't see him, all the Brian, his friends, the people who are celebrating his birthday, assuming that none of them saw him, so maybe he went inside the house through the garage. And during trial, there was a moment with a picture of the garage that was hidden from us. We had to leave the courtroom and then come back, and we don't know why the garage door has to be blurred for us. I don't know why we can see pictures from inside the garage or having an idea how the inside the garage look. But I remember in one of the witnesses, the last one, Dr. La Posada, she mentioned that he saw pictures of a real estate agency of the garage inside, but was objected, and we didn't hear from her what was inside the garage. But raised doubts, raised questions.
So just the fact that there was a question about it. So what was your interpretation of why you weren't allowed to see it? Like, what's the impact of that on you? That's something I'm always very curious about, when there's a piece of evidence that one side wants in, and then all of a sudden you're not allowed to see it. What did you take away from that?
It becomes suspicious. If there is something over there that the Commonwealth didn't want us to see, it's because it could be something beneficial to Karen Reed. And what could be beneficial for Karen Reed regarding a garage door or a picture of inside the garage coming from a real estate? I don't know, but I think that was a question for a lot of us.
Fascinating. How quickly did the entire jury agree that there wasn't a collision?
I cannot count Friday as a day we actually start deliberating. On Friday was just more as everybody just want to talk, because we've been silent about this case for so long. And we really want to just put it out, our impressions, what we think about the trial, this evidence, X, Y, and Z. So it was very chaotic. But Monday, we start to be more organized and checking the witnesses and checking our notebooks, what one juror had written, what I did, and what other did. So we can check facts and see and remember everything that we heard and saw it. There were people who didn't believe Karen Reed killed him, and there was also, I would say, 30% that was like in the fence, and there were two people who think she was guilty, and we had to talk through it.
And how long did it take to talk through it for everyone to agree that, hey, this wasn't a collision, now we've got to talk about the operating under the influence charge?
The next 3 days, pretty much.
Okay,
whole Monday, whole Tuesday, we are going through it.
Okay. I didn't know if you had reached it on one and then we're just focused on the other, but it was a continuing conversation. Let me ask you, Do you have any idea what was going on outside?
No, and it's bothering me that some people think we are influenced by the Karen Reed supporters, that we are hearing them and we felt pressure or something. We couldn't hear anything. We didn't see them in the courthouse because the bus always dropped us off in the back of the courthouse, and the streets were closed. Police were protecting us. The people from the court, the security guards, they were all protecting us. So no way we couldn't see what was happening in front of the court. Sometimes we would drive by and see a pink shirt here and there, but that was it. Not that big crowd. And we couldn't hear. Bottom line, we couldn't hear.
Okay, let's get into some of the evidence here. What was the most important piece of evidence for you? Physical evidence, whether it's a video or something tangible. What was the most important piece that helped you understand what happened?
The piece of tail light definitely was very important to me. Seeing the broke tail light compared to a new one, comparing to his shirts, comparing to the little pieces. So putting everything together around the tail light was very important. And the holes on John O'Keefe hoodie, it didn't feel like something coming from the plastic of the tail light, the shape of the holes. So that raised suspicion to me and reasonable doubt. His arm injuries for sure, seeing close-up pictures of his arms and the autopsy pictures in general, looking for more injuries, more evidence of a collision from a car at 24 miles per hour. And I couldn't see it, and none of us could.
That's interesting, right? I said, what's the most important piece of evidence? And you pointed out a couple things, but there was also a lack of evidence, which is significant as well. Who was the most important witness?
The medical examiners were very important. The engineers from ARCA, to me, were very important. But also the witness who didn't behave as we expected. Their demeanor in the court, in the stand, they were nervous, they would not answer directly. So we observed that too. So most important witness for me was ARCA, both of the engineers who came, but also observe Officer Dever and Officer Buchanan and how they interact with the lawyers in court. That also was very important to me.
Did you feel at any point during this trial that anyone was misleading you or trying to mislead you, whether it's one of the lawyers or one of the witnesses?
Every day, I think that's something that we comment in the deliberation room, that we felt lied from everyone, everywhere. Like some moments, I know attorneys, they needed to make the drama and point out things and say things that they know they're not supposed to say, but they try to put it out there so we can think about it. I felt some witnesses hide information. Not sure if they lied on stand, but hide information for sure. And the lawyers were they're doing their job. They're just trying to lead us in the direction that was convenient to them.
Okay, I get the part with the lawyers. From the witnesses, which witnesses did you feel were trying to hide something from you?
I think Jen McCabe was. I think O'Hara, Officer O'Hara, don't remember his first name. He was shaking. He was very, very nervous during the trial. I'm not sure about the name, but I think Officer Keefe, too. Buchanan, he seems to be very uncomfortable, and something he said didn't seem believable.
Now, was there any witness that you wanted to hear from that did not testify in the trial? Because there were a lot of names talked about during the course of the trial, but not all of them testified. Was there anyone that you wanted to hear from that neither side called to the witness stand?
Definitely, I would really want to hear from Brian Higgins and Brian Albert or Nicole Albert. It was a surprise to all of us that none of them were come to the stand. I didn't know their faces, I just heard their names. I didn't even know who Michael Proctor was until I learned through trial that he was a former officer, so he was fired. But because he was fired, and so many people brought his investigation to the spotlight. I think I didn't need to see him, but I really want to see Higgins and Albert.
And what did you want to hear them talk about?
Please, what Brian Higgins was doing in the middle of the night, on the 29th of January 2022, in the Canton Police Department. And really, Brian Alberts and Nicole, you guys didn't hear, didn't see, didn't notice, felt what was going on outside? Those big question marks.
Okay, imagine that Karen Reed is with you in a room. What questions do you have for Karen Reed?
How can you be so calm all the time? Honestly, that's shocking to me. First of all, I'm sorry that she went through this whole thing, and I want to hear from her, like, how she maintained herself so calm and so present and so participative in the whole trial, how she maintained herself so firm all the time, honestly.
Do you have any questions of her about what happened that night?
I think she said enough about what happened, and if I had a chance to talk to her, I wouldn't go on this subject at all. I want to know about her, I want to learn about her, her personality, her likes, her life, whatever, what she has to say to teach, to show us something for the future. I wouldn't ask about the past. That was draining for everybody, and imagine for her, for O'Keefe's family. What happened that night was presented to us in court. She said many times on television, there is docuseries, there is documentary, there is interviews. I can find that online, no problem.
How about the investigators? What questions do you have for the men and women who were investigating this case?
Why no report? Why the investigation seems so sloppy? Why you guys didn't ask for ring camera of the neighbors? Why you didn't call the owners of the house? Why the video on the Sally port record inverted? Why you didn't collect evidence right away and left in the floor of a hospital and didn't secure evidence once it was in a Canton Police Department? So many questions. Yeah. All the holes that we found in the investigation, I want to ask.
You mentioned so many questions. I have so many more questions. And Paula Prado, juror number 11, is going to stay with us. We really appreciate it. I know she's tired, but she's being a good trooper tonight and helping us out. All right, folks, so when we come back, more of our Interview Plus coming up next hour. A lot of evidence in this case from both sides. Let's talk about it. Still here with me is Paula Prado. She's one of the 12 jurors from the retrial of the century of Karen Reed. Okay, Paula, first of all, everyone's wondering, you are wearing pink tonight. Is that on purpose? Is there a meaning to it? Or is it just one of your colors that you love?
It's a color that I love. In fact, I stopped wearing pink mid-trial. I had a lot of pink shirts, and once I heard that was part of her supporters, I don't want to give a wrong message, so I stopped wearing them. So just like a light baby pink, has nothing to do with my support.
Okay. You and me both. I have a whole bunch of pink ties I haven't worn, a whole bunch of blue ties that I haven't worn for months now. Okay, let's talk about the tail light and the tail light pieces. How do you believe the tail light pieces ended up at 34 Fairview, scattered near the place where John O'Keefe's body was found?
The theory I have, like, if she back up and maybe hit something, a curb or him, or some people in the jury raised the question, maybe he was mad and he could have thrown the glass on the tail light and break it. Another thing, the tail light was found 5:45, but there wasn't a report. The evidence bag didn't say the time, and the car was retrieved and was parked in the sale port at 5:36, if I'm not wrong. And it's very close. The 34 Fairview and the police department is very close. It was time enough for someone to just show up and drop a piece of taillight at the scene.
So you believe that's a reasonable possibility that someone could have planted the evidence?
Yes, I think it's a possibility. I also think could be because she bumped something or even him, but lightly, not enough to kill him, throw him away, and he hit his head and die.
Okay, I'm going to show you some images. We put them up there in a second. These are the images from the closing argument of the Commonwealth. When you look at these images of the taillight, this is 5:07. This is after Karen Reed leaves 34 Fairview, but before state troopers take custody of her SUV. Do you believe these show the right taillight broken to the extent that the Commonwealth says it was broken?
Absolutely not. There is like a white stain. It could be a crack, it could be a small piece out, but not that big damage that they showed us after the car was on the sale port.
So I just want to make this clear. You believe that the images that we're looking at right here, inconsistent with the final photo that was in evidence of the total damage that the Commonwealth alleged was caused by Karen Reed striking and killing John O'Keefe.
Correct. And we also heard from Officer Barrows. He said that what he saw in Karen Reed's parents' house wasn't consistent with the final picture neither, so we listened to him as well.
Do you believe that there were small red shards of that taillight in John O'Keefe's clothing? Hank Brennan, the prosecutor, talked a lot about that. Do you believe they were there? And if so, how did they get there?
The pieces were so tiny, so from all the big pieces they said they found on the 34th Fairview, that tiny dust of tail light to the stop on his shirt, I don't know, it doesn't seem credible.
Okay, let me ask you about...
And also the lab, the state lab didn't say from where. She took this from exactly where on his clothes this debris were found.
Let me move on to the experts now. There was a battle of experts in this case. A lot of money was spent on these experts. What did you think of what we're calling the blue paint experiment that was done by Aperture, the accident reconstruction experts for the Commonwealth?
I think that their evidence wasn't good enough compared to what ARCA presented to us. That seems very unprofessional. What he was trying to prove with the blue paint was the place that the car could hit him without considering speed, without considering his size, weight. They are not the same size, they are not the same weight. The dummy wasn't either, but he has a human arm, so it's not like a dummy arm, and hit himself at 2 miles an hour is way different than 24 miles an hour. I smirk a little bit when I start seeing this video in court, because it was unbelievable that they pay so much money for someone to show this, just that presentation.
So I guess from your perspective, we always talk about the battle of the experts was clearly won from your perspective by the ARCA experts.
Yes, the ARCA experts did a way better job than Dr. Welcher did. I won't say Dr. Welcher intended to lead us to certain directions. He was, in his head, probably he was doing what he was asked for. He was proving that the tail light could reach John O'Keefe's arm, but we call it the preschool project.
A preschool
It didn't convince us of anything.
Okay.
Yes.
So the injuries on John O'Keefe's arm, he did have some injuries, right? I understand that you thought there should be more, but the injuries that he did have, how do you believe he got those injuries?
I believe in a dog theory. I know we didn't talk much about the dog in court, and we also didn't talk about the dog during deliberation because it wasn't presented to us much information about the dog. But as soon as I saw that picture, to me sounds like paws scratching and bites of dogs close to his elbow. I couldn't shake it off this impression that it was a dog.
And what were your thoughts of the allegations that Jennifer McCabe searched how long to die in the cold at 2:27 a.m. Do you believe that she did?
No, that's something the Commonwealth, I think, proved that she didn't. They did well on that one. The explanation that I think Dr. Whiffen gave about the first tab that you opened, and then if you're going to search something in the same tab later, it's going to register the time you open the tab. That was reasonable. I think most of the jurors believe in that. We didn't question that search in the middle of the night.
Okay, Paula Prado, Juror 11. She's staying with us. We're going to take another short break. When we come back, more questions and, more important, more answers from juror number 11. Got Paula Prado with us. She was juror number 11 in this case and is really giving us incredible insight tonight. Again, thank you so much. What do you think of Karen Reed? Like, what's your opinion of her? What do you think of her as a person, as a human?
My first impression of her wasn't that good. I had this first prejudgment because she was very calm all the time. She didn't show any emotion, no tears. I'm a Latina woman, so I would expect someone to be crying and making a scene or something when you're being charged for murder. So I did have this prejudgment of her, but I know nothing about her life. I don't know what she did before. I think they said she was a professor in a college or worked in finance. I really don't know anything about her, but I learned how to admire her, and I think she would be a great lawyer if she's looking for a new career path, because she was very present and very sharp on her trial. She knew things, she pointed out things, she remembered things. I think she was a great help to the lawyers, and I admire her for that.
Yeah, her lawyers have said the same. What do you think of Judge Cannoni?
Judge Cannoni, she was pleasant to us, very kind. She made sure we are comfortable. We had our needs met. She was flexible because sometimes we had our lives and we have commitments that we couldn't cancel. So some people were asking, oh, this day the jury they left early. Why? Judge Cannoni doesn't want to work. No, guys, sometimes we just have appointments in a life. A juror has something to do that they can't cancel. It happens. And she was flexible to accommodate our needs. She was open to explain what we need when we were in the deliberation room with the questions. I have no complaints about Judge Cannoni.
And did you get the feeling that she was favoring one side or the other? Or did you get any sort of vibe that she wanted one side to win and not the other?
I'm avoiding the word favored because I can't say. I felt there was more objections being allowed in the defense witness. So Alan Jackson, I think he was the lawyer, he would object something and she will allow all the time for Brennan. And the opposite happened when was Jackson objecting, and she would, I'm sorry, I'm saying the opposite. So when Jackson objected, she would allow, and when Brennan objected, she would sustained. So there was a moment, there was some witnesses that was hard to follow because there was so many objections from Mr. Brennan, and she was just allowing all of them.
Now there were
sustaining all of them. I'm sorry, I'm so confused.
No, that's okay. It's that way for everyone. But I get what you're saying, and what you're saying is, when the defense wanted something, it seemed like they didn't get what they wanted. When the prosecution wanted something, they seemed to get what they wanted a little more often. And that happens a lot.
Exactly. I couldn't use better words. Yes, that's what I meant. Thank you.
Okay. Who was the most effective lawyer in the courtroom? And for folks who don't know, you're a licensed lawyer in Brazil. And so you have a great background in all of this. So from your perspective, this I think is really valuable. Who did you feel was the most persuasive, the most effective lawyer in that courtroom?
Persuasive, I'm going to give to Alan Jackson. The way he presents himself, the way his voice, his presence in court is incredible. So he's looking in the eyes and he will convince you and show you like his story perfectly. The lawyer I liked the most was Alessi, Mr. Alessi. I just think he was so knowledgeable, and all the technical witnesses that he had to cross and direct, and it was incredible to watch their work. Mr. Brandon, I think he did great crossing examining, much more than he did direct examining, so that was interesting.
Yes.
And then I think I heard he's a defense lawyer.
Right. He really is. He was a prosecutor. He's been a defense attorney for many years, and now he came in as a special prosecutor just for this case. What is your message for John O'Keefe's family?
Oh, the reason why I want to come out and speak to the press was because I want the family to know that we feel very sorry for their loss. I truly believe John was a great man. I believe he was a great uncle, son, brother, and his death was absolutely unnecessary. I don't know what happened to him. Nobody knows what really happened that night. But I truly believe that wasn't Karen Reed, and for that reason we couldn't convict her. And please, I really hope you can reopen the case, the family can reopen the case somehow. I don't know how the system working very well. And they can find really what happened to John O'Keefe that night.
Let me ask you this. After this case, it's only been a couple days. So you watch this entire trial, you hear all the evidence, you deliberate for days, you return the verdict, you're done. Have you taken any time to research and find out some of the things that weren't permitted in front of you as jurors, to find out more about the story, more about the history, et cetera, of what happened here? Did you do that after the trial at all?
I didn't much. One thing I did, like after the verdict, we went to the deliberation room and I download an X account and I started to follow all the journalists who were there, because I know news go on this platform. I'm not very active on social media in general, but I wanted to go up there and see what they were talking about. But I read much more people's opinion and the news from the trial itself than about what happened on the first trial. But I really want to I really want to watch the first trial. I want to watch the documentary. I want to go on YouTube. I saw some YouTube videos of lawyers commenting on the case, but I didn't have time to check anything deeply serious, honestly.
Interesting. Do you know about Turtle Boy?
Turtle Boy, now I know. So Turtle Boy, when I moved to Massachusetts last year, I passed by some billboards, free Karen Reed, which I didn't know what means. And I also saw some billboard or some loud signs saying free Turtle Boy. One time I remember driving through that and I saw a protest, free Turtle Boy. And I remember clearly thinking that's an environmental issue. That's someone maybe fighting for, I know, marine turtles. I really had no clue who he was. And during trial, we heard about a blogger, and then now in deliberation, some jurors comment that this blogger was in court, and then one thing leads to another. Now I know who Turtle Boy is.
Okay. Now here's a question I ask every juror after a trial. It should be really interesting because you understand another system of justice from where you practice down in Brazil. But what can our system of justice do better? And whether it's do better and to help jurors and to just help get to the truth. What can we do better?
very hard question for me because up to now I wasn't involved with the legal system here at all. My first time was just my first time hearing, understanding, learning some legal terms that I didn't know in English before was during this trial, and I think it worked great. This juror system, we don't have, it's a bit different than in Brazil, but we represent the society, we represented what the community wanted, I believe, and I can't say what I would like to change, a suggestion I have for the system right now, because again, like I said, I don't practice law here, and for me, everything was very new. The legal system is new to me. I want to learn more, I'm excited now to learn more, but this trial, what stands up to me was the investigation. The investigation was floppy. The system itself, I mean, I have no criticism.
Well, Paula, this has been amazing, getting this insight from you. I know you're exhausted, and we thank you so much. The folks who are watching at home, thank you as well. They've been so invested in this case, and we saw what happened, you know, inside the courtroom, but now we understand much better how you got to that decision. Can you do me one favor? Because I know you've got 4 kids who miss their mom so much. For all of us at Court TV, give them a big, big hug tonight when you get back.
I will. Thank you so much. I'm happy I was part of the process. I'm happy I'm having the opportunity to talk about it, to, you know, help people understand what was going on for us. And I really would like to ask people to look for reliable sources of news and what really happened. There is a lot of fake news, a lot of silly stuff going out there. So that's, if you guys really care about John O'Keefe, let's focus and get justice for him.
Thank you so much. Paula Prado, juror number 11. Jackson, he is a close friend of John O'Keefe. They were good friends since college. I can understand this can't be easy, but I need you to help us understand what it's like from the other side. That story hasn't been told enough. How are you personally handling what transpired and the verdict in this case?
That's the lead-in. That's the lead-in to this. That's the footage of the lead-in to this. Vinny, we saw you out there. We saw you with your pink tie. We saw you just bathing in the sea of pink.
Slow down.
Yeah.
Didn't wear a pink tie, John. Didn't wear a pink tie, John.
You hold it up. You held it up, right?
No, I didn't. I held up a red tie, John. If you've watched me, if you've watched my career, so every verdict I wear a red tie. So I switched from the purple. From the purple.
The career is interesting.
Okay, this is the way it's going to go. Let's go.
The career is fantastic. The career is fantastic. Look, up until this case, we all watched you. We all did. We all watched, you know, any case that had any kind of interest to us, we watched. But I just watched that interview with that juror. Well, I was here to talk about something completely different. And it's unfortunate because...
Okay, let's talk about whatever you want to talk about, John. I'll give you an opportunity. It's not a problem.
I can't believe what I just heard from that. I mean, I just watched the show, so I can't believe what I just heard that juror say. So many things. I mean, I just went over it. I couldn't believe what I was listening to. It believes the dog bite theory, but they didn't really present it at trial. Those are her words. Barros. She talked about Officer Barros. She apparently missed the cross-examination, although she did. Hat tip to Mr. Hank Brennan for his cross-examinations. But, hey, look, I'd love to talk about Johnny.
John, let me give you an opportunity. You could talk about whatever you want. As a guest on this show, you can talk about whatever you want right now. You've got the microphone. We've got the camera. You have a question for me. If you want to talk about the juror, the way she saw the case, that's fine. You've answered my question that I have already. I sense that you are absolutely livid. You're unhappy. There's a sense of anger. So my question's answered.
Yeah.
I'll give you an opportunity to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
So let me just run through it. Okay, it's been a couple days. So the first couple days, you know, obviously we were all together when the verdict came out, and it was rough, man. It was you know, you sat through the whole case and you watched everything come and go, all the evidence come and go, and look, to us, the prosecution put on a good case, and to us, that data from her car and from Johnny's cell phone told the whole story. Right, so We're not hearing too much about that right now from these jurors. I'm a little surprised. Look, I came out that night. I said, look, we respect the jury's decision. I mean, that's how it is, and it's okay. That's the process. I'm to be honest, I'm stunned at what I just saw. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I wasn't really there until I just saw that interview, and it kind of put me there. It is literally like the social media side of this and the blogging side of this and the law tuber side of this just came out of that juror's mouth. I'm actually stunned. I was calm. I wasn't here, but I can't believe I just heard it. It kind of put me in a position, and I'm sorry. Didn't mean to start off that way. And then
hey, John,
the video.
Your emotions are real. You're entitled to your emotions.
Of course they are.
This is an incredible loss. And I've seen cases of not guilties before. I know it can be crushing. I know it can create anger. And I just want to hear it. I want to hear your side of this. So hearing what we heard from juror number 11 tonight and the way things went down, where do you point blame anywhere for why this result came out, a result that you don't believe in at all?
Yeah, so obviously there's a couple places we'd like to put some blame, but let me start off again. We respect the process, right? If the process is fair, if there's no fingers on the scale, we respect the process, and the jurors spoke. So that's it, right? I mean, we understand that's it. But what we don't appreciate is the narrative that got away from us pretty early was a false narrative. So, trial 1, trial 2, both of them. And the popularity of the movement grew. And as the movement grew, it drew in more and more media types, traditional media, new media, drew them all in, and they went and chased the clicks, and they chased the likes, and they chased the popularity, which is fine. That's what they do. But what we feel is that at some point, I mean, look outside that courthouse, right? The family heard the cheers. Brother, friend, son. They heard the cheers, and it was devastating. Right. So the media needs to take responsibility for their part in this. I'm not saying it was totally there, but for their part in this, for allowing themselves to choose sides, for allowing themselves to be part of the fuel for that fire that caught and wound up outside of that courthouse. So yeah, some of the blame goes there.
So Go ahead. No, continue. I don't want to cut you off. I thought you were done. Continue.
Look, so the problem is for us too. We've lived this for 3.5 years, and we've every piece of evidence that came in, both sides. We can be objective about it and say when things went poorly for us and when things went well for us, and it just even when things went well for us. Again, juror 11 here. Look, Ms. Hank Brennan, Adam Lally, Attorney McLaughlin, they put on a good case, and it's unfortunate because I'm looking now. This doesn't look like it ever had a chance. It doesn't. A couple of other jurors I've spoken to, and I wasn't going to go there with this, but I can't even. Literally raw emotions are coming out here, so that's not where I wanted to go tonight. I wanted to be calm and talk about Johnny and the pain that this family is definitely experiencing.
So. Yeah, and we've heard from other jurors that are speaking. Do you at all look at the investigation itself, the way things were handled that night? Sure. I know there was a nor'eastern coming in. I know that is difficult, but it's Massachusetts, not securing the scene, other things that were pointed out to the jury, because they kept saying to me, not just this juror, but other jurors, holes in the investigation. There were holes in the investigation.
Sure. I can address that, sure. So again, me personally, I'm not speaking for anybody else here, but I will say that, the investigation found the right person. My personal opinion is that maybe especially with a police officer involved. Maybe a little more follow through, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and I'm being, I'm softening it a little bit. But am I happy with the investigation? No. But did they come up with the right person? Yes. Right. So the evidence in this case points to one person, or one person only. And we've followed the social media, we've followed the online stuff and all the other media, and it, the reality is, the wrong narrative still exists. The wrong narrative is still out there. That they're talking about third-party culprits, and it's all nonsense. One person did this. We know it. We've known it since the beginning. And you want to talk about the investigation? I understand. Look, beyond a reasonable doubt is the standard. We get it. And we can have an honest conversation about whether or not, beyond a reasonable doubt, the threshold was met here. I believe it was. But if you want to talk about specifically maybe the collision, whether or not a collision happened, I mean, you can have that argument. I think a totality of the evidence shows, yeah, it happened. But if you want to have like an honest conversation about whether that happened or whether they proved it or not, I think they did. If a juror came out and said, look, I just don't believe in a collision, fine. But when they come out and they say things like, it wasn't 100%, instead of, if it was 99, then you can't convict. I mean, not understanding reasonable doubt, totality of the evidence, not understanding their job. I mean, they say they understood their job, but they didn't get it. Or at least that one, I should say.
Right.
So yeah, again, investigation, found the right person. I would have liked a little more follow through, but maybe things will change because of this case, right? You would hope that when investigations happen now, they would have to sort of foresee that maybe a wealthy defendant would be able to purchase the circus, So that's how I see it. So yeah, if you want to have an honest discussion about reasonable doubt, I could probably get on board with that. But the other stuff, she said, this last juror talked about the dog bites, Barrows. She never listened to Hank Brennan's. I mean, Aperture was unprofessional. I mean, look, you say what you want, but you can go after the individual if you want. But Shannon Burgess, he found the chip that put the data that put her car there. She was the one who drove the car forward 30 and change feet, and then reversed and another 50 feet at a high rate of speed. Even that juror said, she said it. She says she doesn't know maybe she hit him, but then he went in the house after with his socks on. I mean, oh my God. He didn't have a shot. There was never a shot here. And so the emotions you hear now is I'm transitioning away from the grief and the disbelief. We're pragmatic about it. We understood that this could happen, but this is not what we expected. We expected a more deliberate jury, I guess, would be the best way to say it.
John, and then there are commercials and there are segments in a show.
Sure.
But
sure.
I want to extend this segment and give you an opportunity. Again, is there any other area that you would want people to know about tonight? Because I think your voice is an important voice in all of this.
Sure. If you want me to stick around, or you want me to just do this now?
No, we're pushing the commercial. We're pushing it, so we're giving you a little extra time. I'm sorry for the confusion.
This is your thing, So yeah, no. Look, let's just talk about the family for a moment, okay? Let's just talk about Johnny's family. They've been through a tremendous, and you hear it. You hear people say justice for John O'Keefe. The reality is, we knew, guilty or not, that Johnny's never coming home, right? He's just not coming home. The pain, the damage was already done. He's never coming back, and that pain's never going to change. The O'Keefes, obviously, most know the story now about his Johnny's older sister passing, and his brother-in-law, and how he took in the kids, and that is heroic stuff. That's not run-of-the-mill stuff. That's stuff that when the moment arises, and you feel like, I'd be that guy. I would be that guy. I don't know. You hope you would, but he was that guy. And he was that guy for everybody. That wasn't just his niece and nephew, who he loves. loved, and cherished more than anything. That's who he was to all of us. That was who he was to people he didn't know. He was a helper. He was a giver. He was charitable. He was an amazing man. And the O'Keefes need to be left alone to grieve now, right? We're going to put a period at the end of this chapter. We're going to move on. The O'Keefes need to grieve. So anybody who's online still talking, still, oh, peg this, peg that. First of all, it's Mrs. O'Keefe to us, okay? Stop talking about them. Start looking. People invested their lives in the last 30 plus days or even 3 years or so in this, and they're zeroing in on people on the family side of that bench, and they would constantly go on social media, point things out, and say terrible things. This is a grieving family. It's unacceptable. And we know in the first trial, walking in that door, everybody screamed and yelled, cop killers, cop killers. It was unbelievable. And then they learned, it's bad PR, so we're going to stop that now. And they did, but they didn't stop online. And I won't say the names, but the niece and nephew that Johnny took in, they're incredible kids. But the kids, they're on social media. You can't stop that. And they see it. And they see the pain of the family, of the grandparents. So when you consider saying something about the O'Keefes, well, Paul, leave Paul alone. It's time to leave him alone. He deserves to grieve. We understand the verdict is in. She's free to do whatever she wants in this life, right? But that pain is not going to stop for that family or for the friends or for any of us. And the world is going to miss out on a tremendous individual. And it doesn't change the fact that we know who did it, right? We know who did it. Just didn't get the guilty. It wasn't beyond a reasonable doubt in this jury's eyes. It's unfortunate. And anyway, I appreciate you let me say that.
Yeah. Well, John, I appreciate you coming on. It's not easy, and what you said, everyone heard, and I think that's important. And I'm sorry for your loss of your good friend, and for going through all this and all the pain. John Jackson, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
When we come back, more of our investigation.